Are we waiting for someone?
I don't know. It's quite peaceful today, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who it isn't a good day for. Bobby Franks, because he was murdered.
This is an inexplicable murder. These were children of privilege, of high ideals, who had everything given to them.
They were the last people who had any reason to commit a kidnapping, much less a murder.
Anyway, Chippo, May 1924. Bobby Franks was kidnapped and murdered, 14 years old. This happened in the city of Chicago. You ever been to Chicago?
I haven't, have you?
No, because I'm you.
Yeah, if you had been, I would know.
Yeah.
Because I would have been too.
Yes.
So, 14-year-old Bobby Franks, who was he murdered by? Let me introduce you to criminal number one. Here, we have Nathan Leopold.
Ooh.
Now, he was born into a wealthy German-Jewish immigrant family in Chicago. But the thing about him is he was claimed to be a bit of a child prodigy.
Ooh. Bit like myself, and like you, obviously.
Oh, yeah, because we were
good.
Yeah, we lived up to it. Exceeded expectations.
Yes, we have.
He apparently spoke his first words when he was only 4 months old.
Ooh.
At a very young age.
Wow.
And he was reported to have studied 15 languages and spoke 5 of them fluently.
That is pretty crazy, because I can only speak English and just about.
Yeah, barely.
It is fluent, isn't it, cameraman? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he's nice to you there. When he grew older, he went to the University of Chicago, and he planned to continue his studies in Harvard after a gap year.
So he is a knowledgeable man then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't just kind of like
You have to
4
be,
months old.
You have to be
first word.
top percentage of your class to go to Harvard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I know that because I nearly went.
Did you?
No.
Oh, fair enough. So, would you like to introduce us to?
Yes,
Number
he goes
2
by the
criminal.
name Richard Albert Loeb. Kind of like Loeb, but that's his second name. Anyway, born in Chicago to a Jewish father and a Catholic mother. His father was actually the vice president of, not the United States, Seats, Roebuck and Company. It was a big department store.
So quite a top dog, this guy, vice president of a
Yes,
big
I
company.
mean he's got a rich family, you know. He comes from old money.
Probably has high expectations for his son.
All right, psychiatrist. Richard was, also exceptionally smart. He was actually Uni of Michigan's youngest graduate ever at 17, followed by doing graduate work in history at the University of Chicago. And he spent his time socializing, playing tennis, and reading detective novels.
Oh, so he had a bit of an interesting crime growing up.
He was like me and you, except we didn't kill anyone.
No, well, not yet.
Not yet.
Leopold actually had quite an interesting crime himself, but that's not the only thing that they had in common. As we've said, they both grew up in Chicago, and they actually both knew each other, but they started spending more time together at the University of Chicago.
Makes sense.
Especially bonding over their interest in crime.
And it's time for a quick ad break, but Chippo right here has gone for his lunch break, so you're left with the other Chippo. Well, you're probably wondering, what is better than 8 free beers? I have the answer. And that's 10 free beers. That's right. This Christmas, Beer 52 are giving you the opportunity to get yourself 10 free beers, and all you have to do is cover the £5.95 postage fee and go to beer52.com/crime. And even better, if you do it before December 17th, you're not going to believe this, you get 2 free beers. Beer 52 is a beer club like none other on this planet. What they do is they send their beer experts around the world to different countries to select the best beer from those countries, package them up, and send out a different case to their members every single month. Beer 52 members have had beer from more than 40 countries across 5 continents. It is the perfect opportunity to get a family member a delicious pack of Beer 52 beers. And if dark beer is not your thing, you can always go for light beers. I'm a light beer man myself. As well as the delicious beer, you will actually receive Ferment magazine and 2 delicious snacks, which you can wash down with the beer. What a package. After redeeming your first case, you will join the monthly club, which is £24 a month, but there's no minimum commitment. You can pause or cancel at any time. So remember, all you have to do is go to beer52.com/crime. That's beer52 Untitled.com/crime. We can all spell crime, I hope. Like I said, all you have to do is cover the £5.95 postage, which in my honest opinion is an absolute bargain. And I'll be buying my mother a case. Done crimes out.
Leopold actually had quite a strong interest in Nietzsche's concept of these supermen, you know, these extremely highly intelligent people. It was sort of above the law, you know. They could get around rules and laws to get their way. They sort of, you know, they were above the rest of society because of how smart they were. And they kind of bonded over that a little bit, kind of. I think they saw a bit of the supermen in themselves.
Because they're so smart, they felt like they could relate to that. Yeah, that's exactly. So strange.
Like they should be elevated above the rest of society.
What kind of theory is that? Oh, you're so smart that you're just above the law?
Well, he actually once wrote to Loeb saying, a superman is, on account of certain superior qualities inherent in him, exempted from the ordinary laws which govern men. He is not liable for anything he may do.
Damn. And how do you become one of these again?
One of these supermen?
Yeah.
Just by being naturally smart. It's almost kind of like a...
Just wondering.
Don't want to use any kind of words that would get demonetized. So they definitely had a sort of superiority complex.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of had this kind of philosophy that was being deeply ingrained into their minds, that they could kind of get away with whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, so they just genuinely believed that they were better than everyone else. And they've read up on this theory of Superman, and it's kind of just...
poisoning their minds.
That's why you're here, man. That's why you got the job. With this knowledge of the Supermen and this whole theory, they actually went ahead and started committing, you know, petty crimes. We're talking like theft, vandalism, arson, you know, just the stuff you get up to on a weekend. They actually also stole a typewriter, which actually later will be important. So this didn't actually get that much attention from the media, you know, newspapers. It's only petty crime. So they decided to step it up. They wanted to go for the perfect crime. So they went ahead and started planning a murder. This was part of the ultimate goal for them to become Supermen.
So that they could be sort of smarter than the law, get around it, commit the crime without being punished.
Like you said, they felt they were superior to everyone else. But anyway, it was believed that it was Loeb who wanted to commit the perfect crime. It was his idea. It would get Chicago to talk. So it sounds like they did want some attention from this, and this all ultimately stemmed into the plan of murdering Loeb's cousin, Bobby Franks.
Why go for a family member?
I know. Maybe it was like one of those family members that they just hate, you know, you've got bickering.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's my turn on the Xbox.
He was younger, wasn't he? Because obviously when he was a 14-year-old when he was killed, so kind of maybe it was sort of they had a lot of information about him already.
Yeah, and he's probably really annoying.
Yeah, well. So with the victim in mind and with the crime that they knew that they wanted to commit, they had to start planning. Now, obviously, they, like as we said, they wanted this to be the perfect crime. You know, they didn't want to leave any detail out. They didn't want to get caught for it. So they actually spent 7 months planning this gruesome murder. Now, Bobby was Loeb's second cousin, and actually used to come play tennis at the Loeb residence quite a lot. Because he just lived down the street.
Very Tory.
So yeah, it was very Tory. Yeah, but they had a lot of information on this kid.
Yeah.
You know, they knew where he lived. They obviously knew the family. They got to observe him a lot.
They know what time he's getting home from school.
Exactly.
School route. Yeah, that's a good point. So this is the perfect crime.
It is, and like you say, they knew about his school, and on May 21st, 1924. They actually offered Bobby a ride home from school.
Ooh.
Now, his school actually wasn't that far from his home, so initially he declined. He was like, I'm so close to my house, you know, thanks, but no thanks. Yeah. But then he got in the car on the false pretenses that Loeb wanted to have a conversation about a tennis racket with him.
Ooh, that would lure me into a car.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Look at the strings on this racket.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lured into a lot more for a lot less, so...
Well, there you go. Now, during the 7 months, obviously, the planning had to be, you know, very specific. They've got to get this right. So they did go ahead and rent a car. They rented it under a false name. The name was Morton D. Ballard. They chose and bought their murder weapon, which was a chisel. Not the most pleasant of weapons to die.
Horrible murder weapon.
No. not for me. But they also chose a location where they were going to dump the body, which was near Wolf Lake in Hammond. Can't say I know the place, but it was 25 miles south of Chicago. So things were in motion. You know, the plan was looking solid. Now, nobody does agree on what happened next. Of course, they're all in the car. The main argument was that Leopold was driving, and then Loeb must be in the back seat and Bobby in the passenger seat, because Loeb has hit Bobby, struck him in the back of the head with the chisel, dragged him to the back seat, and then strangled him to death. Not a great way to go out.
Bobby Franks, unfortunately, obviously died at this point, aged 14. Very tragic event.
It was.
And now Loeb and Leopold had a body to dispose of. So they removed all of his clothes and they poured hydrochloric acid all over the body so that he was unrecognizable. And then they actually hid his body in a secluded area north of the lake.
That is... So what, was it just bones left? Is that how that works?
Probably. Might be a bit of meaty flesh left, but...
I mean, it's smart from them, I guess.
Yeah.
Technically.
Pre-planned, but still nasty, isn't it? How you can pour acid over someone. Watch a poor 14-year-old boy melt before your eyes.
Well, now you're really
Still
making me
go
picture
through
it.
Yeah, horrible. With the body being unidentifiable and, you know, hidden quite far out, they were kind of planning on Bobby's parents not actually knowing that he had been murdered and perhaps assuming that he had been kidnapped. So they actually planned a ransom for $10,000.
Get a bit of cash.
They decided that basically they would ask Bobby's father to throw a packet with the $10,000 from a train that travelled south of Chicago along the west of Lake Michigan.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. For
But
kids.
Yeah, not too bad. But when they got back to Chicago, Leopold posted the ransom letter via the post box, hoping that the letter would arrive at 8 a.m. the following morning to Bobby Franks' house. By the time the two men had returned to Chicago, word had already kind of got out that Bobby Franks was missing. So Leopold called Frank's mother, identifying himself as a man called George Johnson, and told her that Franks had been kidnapped. Instructions for delivering the ransom would follow.
After they'd mailed the ransom note, they actually went ahead and started, scrubbing the evidence. They burnt their clothes, they started cleaning the car, the blood off the car. And then after all of that, they actually went home and played cards for the evening. So
cold.
They that's what I mean. These guys are very, it's like they're not even affected by it.
Like clinical,
remorseless.
Yeah. That's kind of eerie, isn't it? Disturbing.
The following morning, the families received the ransom note. They actually are planning to go through with it and pay the $10,000 until the news came out that a body had been found. And soon after, the family did confirm that it was the body of their son, Bobby Franks.
So they didn't probably use enough acid then to...
They must have figured out a way to identify it. Even back in 1924, they had a little bit of technology.
That would have been a disturbing sight for the poor parents having to identify their body, the body of their son.
It's not the best. Anyway, this actually did lead on to Leopold and Loeb to destroy the typewriter, which we spoke about earlier, and then they went ahead and destroyed like the blanket that had helped move the body, wrapped the body up in the car. So they were just trying to get rid of all evidence. They knew now they were in a bit of a pickle, and they didn't get the $10,000 that they wanted. The
Chicago police were investigating this case pretty thoroughly, almost instantly. Quite disturbing facts, a bit of a disturbing case, finding a 14-year-old boy that's been melted by acid.
Absolutely.
And buried. And whilst Loeb actually kind of went about his daily routine quite normally, Leopold would actually talk to the police and the reporters and kind of explain theories as to what he thought had happened in the crime.
Now that's really weird, because
That's
you are
very
like,
weird.
You've committed this crime, but you're so confident, you believe in yourself so much that you're not gonna get caught or whatever, kind of toying with the police and like, oh look, maybe this is what happened.
Yeah.
Because they did have an interest in detective novels. They are super smart, of course.
Yeah.
So maybe I wonder if the police were like actually listening to them.
Yeah, exactly. Because if they were smart, they probably did come up with
Yeah.
good theories.
Cheers for that, mate. Thanks for that theory. Oh, I love that from you, Loeb.
Yeah, exactly. And he could obviously be throwing them off the scent. Being
Absolutely.
Like, here's a really good idea. Go investigate this thing, and it's a plausible
completely
explanation.
miles away from where everything happened.
Yeah, and looking quite innocent himself. They'd never suspect the guy that was trying to help them solve the case.
If pulled off correctly, it's very smart.
But
Nice.
a dangerous game to play.
Very.
Unfortunately, as often seems to be the case with these kind of crimes, it wasn't actually quite the perfect crime. by the body, a pair of glasses were found, which seemed common upon first inspection, but were actually fitted with quite an unusual hinge, which were only bought by 3 people in the entirety of Chicago.
Bloody hell.
And one of those 3 people was Leopold.
Oh, you can't, you've been caught slipping. You can't be leaving your glasses
Yeah,
at the
7
scene of
months
crime.
to prepare.
Surely, like, you've gone, where are my glasses? Oh, it might be at that murder I've just committed.
Yeah. You'd think if they're
You would,
scrubbing all this evidence.
yeah, if you were this smart, you know, you retrace your steps. I really don't understand how that's happened.
Yeah.
Obviously not as smart as they think they are.
No, exactly.
Not the Supermen they claim to be.
And it gets worse, because when they actually, you know, the detectives found these glasses, they were like, well, you're one of only 3 people that kind of bought these glasses. What were your glasses doing at the crime scene? He didn't have the most convincing response. He actually said that when they asked him about it, he claimed that it fell out of his pocket whilst he was bird watching the previous week. So he's actually kind of admitting to have been in the place where the body was found, bird watching, and they just conveniently fell out of his pocket.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
Just doing a casual bit of bird spotting. My glasses fall out of my pocket onto the scene of a murder.
Yeah, exactly.
How crazy.
Yeah.
Of course, with what you just said, it has raised a couple of eyebrows, which led to them being formally questioned on May the 29th. So they got asked for an alibi the night of the murder, and their alibi was that they'd actually picked up 2 girls in Leopold's car. This alibi did not go to plan because it was crushed pretty quickly, actually, by Leopold's driver. Remember, they come from a bit of money here, so it's obviously got a driver. Anyway, the driver and his wife said that they were repairing the car the night of the murder. So it was impossible for the boys to be picking up 2 girls because the car was with the driver being fixed.
That's quite a simple
That's
thing
quite a
for-
rookie error.
Yeah, rookie error. 7, I guess in advance they probably didn't know that the car was going to be repaired. But, you know, if you were going to come up with an alibi...
Yeah, you'd at least check where your driver was.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know,
And the car that you claim to have been in was drivable.
That you should have picked an alibi that involves no one else and just you 2. Like
Yeah.
maybe you're out bowling.
Yeah, this is sloppy work. I'm not sure these boys would have got into Harvard after all.
You know what? I think you're right. And remember earlier, we spoke about the typewriter. On June 7th, they actually found it. So the boys didn't do a very good job of destroying that. How are you going to go ahead and find, you know, one of the main tools they used in this whole kidnapping? It's just silly.
Yeah.
That was me, that typewriter. I'd have a brick tied to it, and it'd be at the bottom of the Indian Ocean.
That is far as well. Good effort.
Thank you, mate.
Commitment to the murder.
Yeah.
With the detectives obviously kind of closing down on them, you know, they're gathering evidence, snuffing out their alibis. You know, it's becoming quite obvious that these guys are the main suspects and that there's a good chance they committed this crime. Loeb actually decided to snake Leopold.
Damn.
So he told the police that Leopold had been the mastermind, that he had planned everything, and actually that he was the one that killed Franks, whilst Loeb only drove the car. So he's kind of admitting it a little bit.
Just went
being
on his own boy. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
admitted that this all happened and he was there, but he just wasn't the one that did it, right?
So he's just going, I was a bit of an accomplice, you know, but I was a tag along.
Yeah.
He's the murderer. He's the one who planned it, you know.
Yeah.
Get me off lightly and I'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, though, Leopold came forward and did the exact same thing. He basically contradicted the story and said that Loeb was the mastermind and the killer.
Ooh, he's played the Uno reverse.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I like that.
So for the detectives, who do they believe?
Yeah.
You know?
Who's got the better story?
Exactly. With no way of knowing for sure, you know, they kind of had to go to witnesses. And most people thought that Leopold was indeed the driver, meaning that Loeb must have been the killer in the back seat. But some witnesses do actually claim that they saw Loeb driving right before the kidnapping, meaning it's hard to be sure.
Yeah, who got it right? A couple of witnesses, one of the boys.
Because usually it wouldn't matter who was driving, but the fact that the murder took place in the car means that whoever was driving, you know, it was the other person who was likely the killer.
This is the 1920s as well. There's no surveillance cameras,
No
CCTV,
CCTVs,
no pictures,
exactly,
stuff like that going about.
Yeah, no,
So it's a tricky one, for sure.
Tough one for the detectives to find out because, you know, what do they go on? But they actually did confess to kind of more than just their presence in the murder. They actually kind of spoke to the detectives about their aspirations to become these supermen and to commit the perfect crime. And to be fair, they must have been saying it with a tail between their legs because, you know, to sit there and say that we had these aspirations to become these supermen, these evil geniuses with these perfect crimes, while sat there in front of detectives who have quite quickly, you know, figured out that it was them. It's been a bit of an embarrassing thing to admit,
they've just kind of gone and like, yeah, look, we wanted to do something like this. It was both of us. If they both said that they wanted to be Superman, kind of just adds up. Sounds like a pretty easy case to solve right now.
Yeah, and what makes the murder a bit more tragic and a bit more meaningless was that Leopold admitted that he just wanted to see what it would feel like to be a murderer. You know, probably reading these crime fiction novels probably always had a kind of like, God, I wonder what it would be like to feel like a murderer.
Maybe like fantasizing over the idea of killing someone and being like some of the murderers and serial killers he's read about in the novels.
Feeling this power. This, you know, even though it's over a 14-year-old boy. But he was disappointed because he said that he didn't feel anything.
These guys are cold, man.
Cold-blooded killers.
Damn. Now, of course, this is going to be a big trial, and it did get a lot of attention, but not just because of the crime. It got attention for the actual trial and speeches, you know, themselves. There was a really big speech. But Loeb's family hired a criminal defense attorney called Clarence Darrow. Now, it probably doesn't ring any bells because this was many years ago, but I'm assuming he was a big time. They had the money. I'm assuming he's quite big time, and he was known for probably being able to defend a case like this. But a lot of people claim that he took the case for financial benefits, but it wasn't actually that. The reality was Darrow was a strong opponent of capital punishment, which is, of course, the death penalty, which was still around back then. He forced the boys to plead guilty so that they could actually get life imprisonment rather than the death penalty, of course, because if there had actually been a jury trial, then it would have ended up in a conviction, and that's the death penalty. It ran for 32 days, and Darrow's famous final speech was the finest speech of his career. What about the speech do you believe that made it the finest speech of his career? What made it so good?
I think he kind of pulled on the heartstrings of the nation. You know, US, quite a patriotic country, just come out of World War I, and he kind of spoke about the atrocities committed on the streets of America after the Civil War, and just going, you know, the state has placed such little importance and value on human life by, you know, through the murders that were committed not murders, but obviously the raw number of killings that went on in World War I. And he kind of said the same thing happened after the Civil War, you know, just this kind of low value put on human life kind of carries across into society after the war has finished. And he just kind of says that they're almost like a product of that tragedy, and that it's not entirely their fault. You know, they're growing up in this society, as he says, that it will take 50 years to wipe it out of the human heart. So it was a very like emotional, compelling sort of like macro speech on the state of the country and the sort of the dark effects it's had on society. Obviously, at the end of the trial, the 32-day trial on September 10th, Leopold and Loeb were sentenced to life imprisonment, and they actually got an additional 99 years for the kidnapping, which is quite extraordinary.
So, like, what's the total on that?
Oh,
Is that just 200 years flat or something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know what life will have meant in those times.
No, same.
You'd think that they're probably never going to see the light of day after that.
But they did avoid the death penalty, so the speech actually did go ahead and work.
Yeah, exactly. So Clarence Darrow, fair play. He was
it
against capital punishment, and he got what he wanted.
Yeah, it moved enough hearts for the boys to only get life imprisonment and 99 years. When they were in prison, they actually did try to separate both of them, but in 1931, they were both transferred to Stateville Penitentiary, where, you know, the both of them actually improved the prison school system by adding a high school and junior college curriculum. So they've used their brains, which they didn't use that much in the killing of the boy, and improved the prison.
Nuts.
Now, of course, it was a shorter life for one of the men. Loeb was actually killed on January 29th, 1936 by James Day whilst in prison with a straight razor in the shower. So people did speculate that he wasn't straight, and obviously whilst in prison, he'd approached a man in the shower with maybe romantic intentions. Obviously James Day didn't like this, and well, I guess he didn't like it enough that he thought it was worth killing him over. Wow. And that was the end of Loeb. A death for a death.
Leopold, however, lived quite a little bit longer. He was actually a bit of a model prisoner. You know, he reorganized the library, he taught students, And he even volunteered at the prison hospital. So
Yeah, it's getting up to quite a bit then.
Yeah,
At least
exactly.
it sounds like he's trying to turn his life around, at least, like, for the most part. Like, I mean, you have murdered a
bit
14-year-old
late,
child.
isn't it? It's like,
But I mean, with the
Yeah.
years that you have left, you may as well try and do something good with them, right?
yeah, exactly. Try and make something out of his life. Because I mean, they probably had this idea before up to and committing the murder that they'd get away with it, that they live these lives as these supermen, and now they're sort of at the lowest of the low that your life could possibly be. And they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's make the most of it. He also actually got involved in some medicinal trials. So he actually volunteered to be a guinea pig for some malaria treatments, which he would actually go on to write about later on, and say that that was kind of like him giving back to society, compensating from his crimes, being like,
Yeah.
I've taken a life, maybe he did regret it and go, it was the wrong thing to do, how can I?
Sounds like he did. Sounds like in his time in prison, he's gone through.
Yeah, and who knows how many
Gone
lives he
through
could have saved by participating in these trials. To kind of add to the theory that he might not have been straight himself, there were actually kind of theories going around since the crime that Leopold and Loeb actually were in a secret relationship with each other, and that them committing crimes together was kind of their strange way of proving their love to one another.
Damn, that's a little bit of a twist.
Could explain why they were so close from childhood through university to the crimes and even
Yeah,
in prison
that's
together.
quite the romance. I could see a rom-com starring Matthew McConaughey,
And who?
Cameron Diaz.
Great. Not quite both men though, are they?
His classmate actually did write a book about him and the crimes he's committed, which was actually turned into a movie, which is called Compulsion. So if anyone wants to go out there and rent it from the local video store on VHS.
He was asked to co-write that as well, but he wasn't compelled. enough
Yeah,
to.
he were.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably doesn't want to go back to that part of his life, start,
True.
reminiscing the time where he killed a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah. He doesn't want more interesting info out there about it either, does he?
No. He did go ahead and actually publish an autobiography, which was called Life Plus 99 Years. It got published in 1958, and it was basically a move for him to try and get parole, which was actually granted, and he got that in March 1958.
God, so life plus 99 years, and he
Quite
actually
a-
got
quite a good
paroled
title, that.
after how long in prison?
Well, he had done some time. It was actually 33 years in prison, so
Yeah.
it is quite a while.
That is quite a
33
while.
years of your life gone.
But still, for someone with life in prison and 99 years on top, to get out at age 53,
Not bad at all.
not bad at all. And he was actually able to kind of, live a relatively normal life on the outside. So he actually married a widowed florist and got a master's degree from the University of Puerto Rico. He went on to teach classes at the uni and actually became a researcher in the social service program of Puerto Rico's Department of Health.
Bloody hell.
He also worked for an urban renewal and housing agency and actually did some research on leprosy at the University of Puerto Rico School of Medicine. So he kind of, after his obviously malaria trials, kind of obviously wanted to continue his work in the field of medicine. And I guess, again, that was probably him just kind of going, contributing to the world of science and saving lives.
Well, I mean, this guy's a murderer and he's had a better career than us.
Exactly. And you know what's funny? He was talking about dropping his glasses when he was bird spotting.
Yes.
He actually ended up publishing a book called The Checklist of Birds of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
Oh.
So the guy actually liked his birds. He published that in 1963. But sadly he didn't live much longer after that, did he?
He didn't?
Because he died, sadly.
Oh.
Well, some might say sadly, some might
Is it
say
sadly? Yeah.
some might have said far too late.
We're neutral.
But yeah, he died of a diabetes-related heart attack on August 29th, 1971. So he actually lived till 66
Wow.
and had 13 years as an adult on the outside.
I mean, that's not bad for what he did.
No,
He can't complain.
no, he
Well, he
can't.
definitely can't now.
No. Yeah, almost impossible for him to.
We hope you enjoyed this case. Let us know if you have any theories in the comments. Thank you very much for coming on, Mr. What was the name again?
Chippo?
Huh. Thought it was Arthur.
No.
Must be me in my old age. But yes, Chippo here does have his own channel, which you can go and check out in the comments. You do cover true crime yourself
Oh, I do, yeah.
on
I
that
do.
channel.
I
So
do,
if
yeah.
you guys have run out of mysteries videos to watch, you will not be disappointed with Arthur's channel. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming on, Chippo.
Thank you, Chippo. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Guys, we'll see you all next Monday for another mystery.
Yeah.
Tell you what it isn't a good day for Bobby Franks, because he was murdered.
That is a good start.
Well, you do look good today, Don Crimes. You look fantastic.
Don Grimes.
That's my new name. Can you know how to run? Don Grimes. Listen. Anyway, Chippo, this all took place.
Who was he murdered by? Person number 1, Nathan Leopold. What are you laughing for? So, fuck.
It's going to be a long hole in the door, isn't it?
So, Chippo, 14-year-old Bobby Franks. A child was murdered and kidnapped, Chippo.
Oh, God. I'm crying. Tears of sadness.
Yeah.
To Bobby. I can't believe it.
So, Chippo, 14-year-old Bobby Franks. Oh, this is... We're still on the title.
Why is it? It's not even funny. Run it.
So...
That was you! We're in now. I feel like we're in a zone. We talked about it. We're back in the game.
Okay.
I have this one, Fish.
I won't look at you.
Go look.
I'll look at the camera. May 1924, he was kidnapped and murdered.